Hello everybody, I'm Josh Darroch, and in today's video I'm going to share my thoughts on the latest Doctor Who episode, Dot and Bubble. If you're wondering why I'm only reviewing this episode and not the other episodes of this season so far, it's because I've not really got a lot to say about the other episodes. I like them, I think they're good. Space Babies was okay, but I don't really have a lot to say. I really liked The Devil's Card, Boom, 73 Yards, but I don't think I have enough to say for it to be its own video, if you know what I mean. They're really good, I really enjoyed them, but I just don't really have a lot to say about them. The reason I have a lot to say about this episode though is because it brings up some interesting questions and ideas, and I also have kind of mixed feelings about the episode, so I have a lot to say about this episode because I have mixed feelings about it. It's fine if an episode's bad or if an episode's good, but again, I wouldn't have a lot to say about it, but since it's kind of mixed, it's more easy to say stuff. I don't know if that makes sense, but it makes sense to me. Some of the stuff wasn't the best, but some of the other stuff was really good. So it's confusing because I did like the episode, but there's stuff I didn't like about it. So yeah, that's why I kind of have mixed feelings about it. I think I should talk about the bad stuff first, just to get it out of the way. One of my main problems with this episode is some of the writing. By the end of the episode, there's so many unanswered questions, which, don't get me wrong, isn't always a bad thing, but in this case it is, in my opinion. One of the few things I remember from school is the 5 W's. Who, what, why, where and when. And these are questions that need to be asked and then answered by the end of your story. And this episode only managed to do 3 of those, at most 4. For example, we know that it takes place sometime in the future on a different planet in a town for rich kids called Fine Time. We also know that the slug things were made in a lab to kill people for some reason, but we don't know who actually made them. It might have been the AI dot thing, but that also brings up questions how did the dot manage to do that? It doesn't have any limbs. How did it grow things in a lab? And if it wasn't the dot, who else would have done it? Because the dot did it because they started hating the people. So it's kind of confusing. The AI started killing people because it started to hate them, basically. So they must have made the slugs to kill people, because it's in the same order. It's in A, B, C, in alphabetical order. So it's kind of confusing because how did the AI make these slugs in a lab? Where did they get the lab? How did they get the money? It's just, how did they make them without having any limbs? Is there robots that are also controlled by the AI, or how does it work? That's something I would like to know, which I think maybe isn't the most important thing, but it is still pretty important. You can't just not answer that. I think it's a pretty important thing to answer. Other than that, I don't really have any other big complaints. It's mostly just nitpicks. So since I don't really have much more negative things to say, I think I should move on to the positive things. The first good thing, in my opinion, that I want to talk about is the main message of the story, which is to do with social media and stuff like that. It's easy to disregard it as just another phone bad message that we see in movies and TVs a lot now, but I think it's a lot more than that, and I think it was done pretty well. My interpretation was that social media can be dangerous. We're so caught up with our social lives on our phones and social media and stuff like that, that's so easy just to ignore or not even notice what's right outside, even if it's a terrible thing that's happening. And I think that's more what they're going for than just phones are bad, It also seemed to represent to me how easy it is to fall down into an echo chamber of just toxicity. The characters' social bubbles are literally bubbles of people who all look the same, all think the same, all talk the same, which can be really dangerous. The next thing I want to talk about is the overarching undertones of both classism and racism, which in my opinion I think were portrayed and done pretty well. Fine Time is a place for rich and white kids, which is hinted at throughout the episode, and I think it pays off amazingly with that end scene that's so amazing but heartbreaking at the same time. The first hint I noticed to the racism in Fine Time and presumably the homeworld, which again, this is meant to be in the bad bit, but I don't think it was resolved that well. But anyway, I'm getting off track. So the first hint at it was how Lindy immediately blocks the doctor, but later on she doesn't do the same thing to Ruby, even though they're both people she doesn't know and are annoying to her. So, you know, why block the doctor when you're not going to block Ruby, you know? The second hint I noticed is there's literally no people of colour in the social bubbles or on Fine Time or anything. So that's a pretty good hint, I guess, towards, yeah, they're racist basically. There's no people of colour, like literally none. I think the only person of colour in the episode was Nshutigatwa. So yeah, it was kind of hinted at subtly to white people at least, that yeah, there's no people of colour here, so they're kind of racist. Those were the only two things that I noticed, hinting at the reveal of the racist culture later on in the episode, but there could be more. If you know any more that I didn't mention, please tell me in the comments. I would like to know what you think and if there's any I missed. There wasn't really that many hints towards Fine Time being a place for the rich, but it was pretty obviously brought up in like the middle of the episode, so you know, that kind of evens it out. The last thing I want to talk about is the scene at the end. It was so amazing. It genuinely gave me chills throughout my body. It was just so heartbreaking and kind of terrifying, the reveal. It was just really sad, and I think it was done beautifully. It was probably also a really difficult and unique scene to write and act properly, because this is a scene where a man has probably for the first time in his life faced prejudice just because the colour of his skin. It must have been so difficult, because like, how would we know how someone would react to that, because it's obviously never happened in real life. So it's kind of, it would be a difficult thing to come up with. Like, how would a person who has experienced white privilege throughout their whole life react when they realise it's been taken away from them? Again, it's a really difficult question to answer because it's never happened in real life before. And Nshuti's acting was amazing here. Like, it was so good. I don't know how he does it. Like, he's probably one of the only people who has had to act out a scene like that, you know, a person realising, oh, I don't have all this power I used to have because my skin has changed colour, you know. That's not something probably anyone has had to act before, so it was such a good scene. His acting was amazing, and obviously I've never faced racism before, but I think his reaction was it feels very real. And it probably is, because he's probably faced racism before in real life, so he probably took some inspiration from that and just, you know, tried to think, okay, well, this is the first time he's experiencing it, how would he react? He's not getting the chance to save someone just because who he is, which not only would that upset him, but he'd probably think, oh my gosh, these people are idiots, what the heck, why am I even trying to save them? There'd be so many thoughts going through his head. So it's kind of, I think how he acted it out would probably be pretty accurate to how anyone else would act it out. Or actually, how anyone else would react to the situation he's in. So yeah, Nsuti's acting here was very impressive, especially considering this is supposedly one of his first scenes that he filmed, if not the first, I'm not sure. But yeah, he's an amazing actor. I'm so excited to see more of him in this show. He's one of my favourite doctors already. So yeah, I'm really excited for that. So, what did I think of the episode as a whole? It's kind of a difficult one because there's a lot of stuff in the episode that I thought was mediocre, there's some stuff that I thought was bad, but again, there's some stuff that I thought was amazing. So it's kind of difficult to understand where I feel about it, because I feel many different ways about it. So yeah, it's kind of difficult, but I think I will give this a 6.5 out of 10, because although there was some amazing parts, there was also some bad parts and some mediocre parts, but I think there was enough parts that I thought were good to just make it above mediocre. Anyway, that is the end of this video, so if you enjoyed, please feel free to leave a like, it would help out the channel a lot, and or subscribe if you haven't already. But thank you and goodbye.